Let's go. You are incredible. Your body has a purpose, your life has a purpose. You were designed to live the best life possible.
Mic check. Mic sound okay? Camera one good. Camera two good. All right, here we go.
I enjoyed it. You know, for many years, I was one that almost felt guilty for taking time away because I felt that I had to be constantly working, right? Or constantly engaged or constantly involved in every single thing, and having to pull away for some time. I almost thought of it as something negative. But these 3 weeks really showed me a lot and really allowed me to embrace what time off really means and how to take on every experience of life simply for what they are and embrace that for yourself, right? And that's something that I want to talk about today in today's episode. I want to talk about how do we get back on track? Look, these last 3 weeks, in terms of health and in terms of my fitness, quote unquote, journey, I wasn't really fully engaged, to be honest. You know, there were things that I had to deal with, juggling and had to deal with circumstances that arise that really didn't allow me to work out, didn't allow me to necessarily have to be allow me to be so intentional about my nutrition choices, about my food choices, right? And so today I really want to talk about this. How do we get back on track? I've been gone for almost a month now. How do I do it? And so I want to share 5 things that have been very helpful for me to really help us get back on track. And hopefully these 5 things will help you in your own journey. So if you're watching live today, drop in the comment section where you're watching from. I always love to just see where people are connecting from and be able to connect with them as well. And know that this Tuesday live is really for you. It's something that I decided to put together to help the community and know that I have value that I want to share with you through my 15 plus years of being in the health and fitness industry that you all can also gain from. Because look, the purposes of being connected is so that we can all learn from each other, engage from each other, and be able to grow together. So shout outs to James out of Florida. I see you, my man. Thanks for connecting. And as you connect tonight, just drop in the comment section there where you're watching from. And so, like I said, these last 3 weeks for me have been very roller coaster. They've been all over the place emotionally, right? Even in terms of my own health, dealing with some of my nerve issues and going through therapy and going through my neck injections and all of this stuff, that it's really I've been forced to have to reevaluate how I do health. And in one of those things is really the big question that I often get asked, right? How do I get back on track? Ethan, what's up, my man? I see you. Let's go indeed, my man. And so how do we get back on track? And oftentimes when we find ourselves out of quote unquote, let's say your routine, right? Or you've fallen off of your health journey. You've fallen off in terms of your nutrition. You've fallen off in terms of your exercise. Because look, let's be real. Life happens. Things and circumstances in life happen, right? Overload in work. We might have, like me, we get married, or we have unfortunate circumstances that arise, health issues that arise. I have with my students, there are circumstances that sometimes hit them constantly with their kids and then with their relationships and with their business, right? And we have to understand that we are human. Life is a normal and natural thing. Now, when we understand the concepts that are important to help us stay on track, no matter what happens in your life, you'll quickly be able to bounce back. And that's really where resilience comes in, right? That is really the definition of resilience, to be able to bounce back, right? To be able to be one that no matter what happens in your life, you're able to come back to focus, come back to the journey, come back to the task at hand, come back to the objective, right? So how do we do that? So number one thing, oftentimes, I know I did this a lot very early on in my own experience through my own health and fitness journey, is when I was off for a certain period of time, when I would get back, or I would say, okay, today I'm going to start, oftentimes I would beat myself up and try to recover or make up for lost time. Meaning, I get into a mindset of believing that now I have to work harder, right? If I was gone for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months, 6 months, oftentimes as humans, we tend to take on that negatively and accuse us as being the reason as to why we all have fallen off track. And we now end up beating ourselves up for it and taking it out on ourselves and force us to work harder. Now, what happens when we fall into that thinking trap? Believing that if I've fallen off, now I need to work twice, 3 times harder. I have to be more committed. I have to put in more hours in the gym. I have to be more strict with my nutrition. I have to be more committed. I got to wake up earlier. I have to make up for lost time. It really puts us in a place to not take action. It literally now puts us in a place where we start to resist taking action, jumping in again, moving forward again, following into the journey again. And it puts us in a negative mindset. Emotionally, it tends to make us rethink if we really want to do it. Am I able to do it? Will I be able to commit to it again? Do I even have the ability to do it? Am I going to fail again? What if I screw up? These now negative thoughts start to become negative questions, right? Or questions that come in a negative form to literally make us stall. And oftentimes that really causes us to freeze. It causes us to stay stuck. So the number one thing I want to start, how do we get back on track? The number one thing is to not take it out on yourself. Do not blame yourself for falling off track. Do not judge yourself for the circumstance that has aroused, right? That has arisen, and not blame yourself for what's happened. Simply take on the experience for what it was. We can't change circumstances that have already happened. But what we can do is now focus on what are we going to do moving forward to get back on track or to move in the right direction once again, right? So we don't want to work harder. We don't want to bash ourselves. We don't want to take things out on ourselves. We don't want to become judgmental. We don't want to be guilty, find guilt in what's happened. We don't want to condemn ourselves. And we don't want to now force ourselves to have to believe that we have to make up for lost time. If we've been away for some time, just recognize it. It is what it is, right? We can't change that, but now I can take a different perspective. I can take a different approach in terms of how I am viewing where I'm at today and understand that this situation that you're in is where you should be. It's where you are. Accepting it for what it is, and now allowing yourself to embrace this journey to move forward, right? Which then now leads me to number two. And number two is really reconnect to the objective. If we've fallen away, what do? We got to reconnect with the objective. What is the objective at hand? What is the thing that we're chasing after? What is the objective? What is it that we're really wanting to do? And in that really leads us to two things, right? There's purpose and then there's meaning. We've got to reconnect with the purpose of what we are doing. What is the objective that we are really chasing after? If that is to release weight, if that is to get healthy, if that is to master your eating habits, if that is to change your relationship with food, if that is to build muscle, if that is to build a habit, if that is to whatever it is for you, we've got to re-identify what is that purpose? What is it that is important to me? What is my purpose in this specific area that I am going after? When we reconnect with purpose, it will ignite in us a new clarity, a restructured focus that'll then allow us to really be honest with ourselves. Is this really something I want to do? Is this really the end goal that I really want to achieve? Or it may be get us to question, to restructure, and become even clearer in terms of what your objective should be. Oftentimes, pulling away, it allows us to rethink our life. It allows us to reassess. It allows us to recalibrate things within us. And it's important to look at, what is the purpose here that I am after? What is the purpose for me? And then meaning, why is this important to me? Both of these components are super essential, because when we understand what our purpose is and we understand what it means to me, we now activate intrinsic motivation. The hardest thing when we're talking about a health and fitness journey or changing our lifestyle to become healthier, to become more effective, to become more efficient, to become more committed to whatever it is we're chasing after, we've got to understand, why is it important to me? There's got to be some type of meaning connected, because when we attach the meaning to it, then now we're able to find the motivation within. The hardest part in that, like I said, is having a specific quote unquote motivation, that many title it as that, right? To get up and do it again, to get up and do it daily, to get up and stay committed, to get up and stay focused, to get up and keep at that task at hand. So when we identify what our purpose is, we reconnect to that purpose. We reconnect to the meaning behind why it is I want to release the weight, why it is I want to be healthier, why it is, or what does it mean to me to be healthier, to be thinner, to be more active, to be the best mom, to be the best executive, to be the best professional, to be the best parent, to be the best husband, wife, whatever it is. When we understand what that means to me, and not in a very superficial way that sometimes we tend to do it as humans. I know I've done that before in the past, right? I say, oh, well, it means that, I'll be more attractive, or I'll be able to find somebody, a soulmate, right? When I was younger and trying to find a girlfriend, or trying to find somebody in my life, or trying to chase after money. Well, that'll make me make more money, and I'll be able to have more material things, or I'll be able to prosper here. All of those things are okay. But what I challenge you to do is to connect with meaning on a more intimate level, not as superficial, but really searching deep down inside and identifying, what does this purpose mean to you? Why is it so important? What happens if you do not achieve this? What happens if this purpose that you're chasing after doesn't happen? How is that going to influence your life? How is that going to impact your life? What is that going to mean for you? How is that going to affect you? So when we reconnect with the objective, and we reevaluate our purpose, and we reevaluate our meaning, and we connect with them once again, we're now focused. We're now in the zone, so to speak. We're now ready to take action. We're now in a place that we can say, okay, I'm here. I'm present. I am re-engaged. I am intentional, right? I am taking responsibility for what now comes next. When we take these approaches, it really now solidifies our intentionality to commit to the process. We've got to understand that no matter what we're chasing after, look, it's a process, it's a journey. And in that, there's going to be so many things that occur. But when you're committed, right, and you're intentional about what you're going to do through this process, through this journey, meaning you're willing to not only accept the final objective, but also accept the thing that comes with having to gain that objective. The dirt like how Gary Vee sort of talks about, right? Or the ugly, right? Or the work that has to be put in, the things you've got to invest, the things you've got to give up, the things you've got to say no to, the things you've got to say yes to, right? All of those things are part of the process. They're part of the journey. And if you're willing to say yes to releasing 30 pounds, to getting healthier, to building muscle, to being fit, to being active, to being the best parent, to building a better relationship with food, in those contexts, there's also, we've got to be willing to say yes to what comes with us, the work that it takes to get there. So that's number one and number two. Okay. Now, number three, we want to keep it simple. Now that we've recommitted, right? Now that we've recalibrated ourselves, we've reignited, so to speak, that fire, right? We've reignited the focus. We've reignited ourselves and reconnected with purpose. We've identified the meaning. It still fires me up, right? Because it's important to look at, does this still ignite me? Does this still fire me up? Is what this means to me today enough or strong enough to get me to stick to it? Because then if not, then again, stepping back for number two, we may need to rethink purpose and we may need to rethink meaning. Now, once all that is good, we now want to keep it simple. As humans, we love to complicate things. I know oftentimes I've done that before. And when I say as humans, I don't mean to incorporate everyone. I'm just going to now speak on my experience. I tend to complicate or want to complicate things at times because I just feel like I'm being more effective, right? Because I'm working harder, I'm doing more. And a lot of times doing more doesn't mean you're actually being efficient. You're actually being effective, right? So when we keep it simple, meaning we go back to what we know. Look, being away for 3 weeks, in my experience right now with my life, being away for the wedding, right? Or being away for 4 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, doesn't mean now you've forgot about everything in relation or in regards to this journey that you're on. We want to go back to what we know. And oftentimes choosing one thing, right? Or sticking to one thing that you know that you can get back into and be effective in it is typically the best thing to do. So if that's your nutrition, if that's water, if that's walking, if that's exercising, right? If that's going for a swim, if that's boxing classes, if that's, I don't know, excuse me, moving things around the house to get yourself active again, whatever it is, we want to go back to what you know. And if that still doesn't, if that's still too complicated, pick one thing that I know I can do today. One thing that I know I can complete. Because when we do that one thing, it now starts to ignite in us in the sense that, oh, I'm able to do this. I can do this. It's not so bad. It's not impossible. Just because I've been away for a certain amount of time or a certain period of time doesn't mean that now I can't reconnect or continue to do this journey. So we go back to what we know and we perform, we do it. And the key here then leads us to number 4, we want to repeat. Whatever it is we're doing, whatever it is we know to do, whatever it is we can jump back into, we want to repeat. Through repetition is how we start to activate in our brain, right? Neurologically, but also it helps us to start to build some momentum through consistency, right? Through consistency, we build confidence. And the more confident we are about something, it helps us to stay engaged with it. Oftentimes it'll keep us engaged and allow us to keep moving through that journey and keep pressing in. So we want to repeat what we've started to do again. Now, the key here is don't undermine it. If it's just one thing, do not criticize it. Do not shame it. Do not judge it. Do not shame yourself or beat yourself or judge yourself for, oh my gosh, this is so simple. Oh my gosh, why aren't you doing more? Oh my gosh, you're so lazy. Why aren't you doing everything that you did before? How can you be so dumb? Or you should be doing more. You should be at a different place. You should have already released the weight. Why are you still in this place? Why do you keep messing up? Listen, none of that negative self-talk is going to get us anywhere. It is simply going to shut us down. It's going to discourage us. It's going to frustrate us. It's going to even sometimes agree with the thoughts that we have because we've heard them so much that we sometimes just say, yeah, I guess it's true. So why even try? And then we end up stalling once again. And then what happens is we feel bad at ourselves for stopping. We get embarrassed. We feel guilty. We then shame ourselves. We then bring condemnation on ourselves. We then bring self-judgment on ourselves. And then we backslide even more, right? So we want to avoid falling into those thinking traps, into those emotional traps. The key here is to understand that how do we get back on track and how do we continue moving forward with progress? It's like that famous phrase that we've heard. How do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. One bite at a time. Meaning one thing at a time. One day at a time. One action at a time. One forward progress step at a time. When we adopt this mindset of knowing that no matter what's happened in our life, we can always change that situation. We can always change the circumstances that we're in. We now become we start to become more pliable, meaning we start to become like clay, allow ourselves to be molded and shaped into becoming who we truly desire to become. I was listening to a neurosurgeon talk about how he was explaining the brain. And oftentimes we've heard phrases as, oh, you're just hardwired. Oh, you're just made this way. And I've talked about it in the past in terms of like the truth behind our brain and how it can be changed and how we can change circumstances or things about us, right? Because of neuroplasticity. But he talked about us viewing our brain as an ecosystem, meaning that in this ecosystem, everything about the brain feeds off of everything. It's all essential. It's never about, oh, since you're this way, that just means that's who you are. You're going to stay that way. And never is only one specific area of the brain always in charge of one specific thing. He talked about a surgery that he did where he removed, I believe it was the frontal lobe on one of his patients, and he took out a piece of that frontal lobe. He then explained that once that frontal lobe or any part of the brain is typically removed, like it does not grow again. However, when they came back and they reevaluated this person 2 or 3 years afterwards, they found out that what the function that frontal lobe was supposed to be doing, even though it wasn't there, the brain was actually doing that. And he explained that even though the brain literally did not have that piece of the brain, the ecosystem, meaning the entire brain, was able to figure out how to get the brain to function and still operate in that way, even though it was missing it. So why do I say all this? I say all this to let me know, one, as I learned it first, but to also let you know that doesn't matter how stuck you might feel, how many times you've attempted, if this is your 50th recommitment to the journey, right? If this is your first fall and now you're getting back on track, doesn't matter. We can always reshape, restructure, reform when we understand that we are plastic. Our brain is plastic. It can be shaped, it can be remade, it can be redesigned so that we can become the set person we desire to be. But it really comes down to understanding it's just one thing at a time. One thing at a time. James Clear talks about it in his book, Atomic Habits, right? I have it right there, right behind us. He talks about getting 1% better each day. That's it. How do we do that? By one thing, one day, committing, sticking to it, repeat. We build confidence, we build consistency. We now are able to do it. We stay committed. It ignites us. It keeps us motivated. It keeps us moving forward. And then that leads me now to point number 5. When we get into this swing of things, when we start to build this sort of momentum, now we can start compounding. Meaning, if 3 days in, a week in, yeah, going back to what I know, cool, I'm doing it again. This one thing that I've chosen, yeah, cool. I'm getting back on track with my walking. I've been doing it consistently for 3-4 days, a week. Wow, this feels good. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so much better. Cool. Compound it, meaning add something else. Add one more thing to it. Incorporate something that you already know to do, because if we've slightly fallen from the objective, right? In terms of the process and the journey. Well, what else can I incorporate, right? If I'm doing the walking, now can I go back into looking at my nutrition, right? Can I now focus on, okay, now let's look at my portions. Now let's look at, what type of nutrients am I taking in? Am I consuming too many high glycemic carbs that I can now swap, right? Can I substitute some food choices, right? Can I reduce my portions? Can I look at now and really evaluate how many calories am I consuming? Can I get back on track to understanding where I should be so that I can hit the goals that I want, right? Can I now maybe go swimming one day out of the week? Can I maybe incorporate now doing some squats every time I go to the restroom? What else can we do? So now when we get to this place, we now start to compound, meaning we start to add another thing. Can we build consistency with those 2 things or 3 things or 4 things, right? Always understanding that we never want to overload ourselves. When we overload, that is going to lead us, oftentimes than not, it's going to lead us to disaster. Meaning now we're going to feel too much stress. We're going to feel too much obligation, too much responsibility, or maybe it's just too much for us to handle, that then we say, oh, yeah, this is too much. I got to take a break. And then we now take an unnecessary break. Had we simply reduced the things down to not overload ourselves and allow ourselves to keep building momentum, right? Like today I went to the gym. I hadn't been there in, I would say, over a month, right? And what did I do? Yesterday, we went to do legs with my wife, and all I did was one machine, one set of 15 reps. And I did 4 different exercises. So I did leg press for 15 reps. Then I did 10 body weight squats. Then I did leg curls for 15 reps, one set. Then I did 10 body weight lunges. Then I did leg curls. And then I performed 10 body weight deadlifts. And then the last thing was I did one set of 15 reps of calf raises. And that was it. Then I did 5 minutes on the stair climber, on the Stairmaster. And that was it. That was my entire workout. I did not overload myself. I did not overexert myself. I didn't go in and say, okay, now I need to make up. Now I'm going to go and work out an hour in the gym, because I knew I wasn't going to wake up the next 2-3 days. I was going to be miserable. Why do that? When if we take a simple approach, we understand that we're able to bounce back because we're resilient. We're humans, meaning we were designed with so much incredible ability that if we just simply get back into it, small steps, simple progress, one day. Today we went to the gym, we did shoulders. We didn't have much time. We had only 20 minutes. We went in and we did again one set of 4 different shoulder workouts. And that was it. We went in, we got out, feeling great. I'm not hurting. I'm not sore. I'm not achy. But what does that do? I've now been consistent for 2 days. And now I'm excited for it to be tomorrow, because then we're going to be able to go tomorrow. And then this afternoon, we took a little break and we did a 10-minute stretch and breath work, right? Small things, my friends, small things, small things, small things. When we've been away for some time, whether it's been 3 weeks, through 3 months, a year, 3 years, we've got to get into it. Simple, small progress, little by little. So to recap, what are the 5 things that I do to help me get back on track after I've fallen or been away for a certain amount of time because of life in my health and fitness journey? Number 1, do not judge, blame, shame, and bash yourself for what's happened or for where you're at or for falling off. And don't believe getting into the mindset of believing that you have to now make up for lost time, wanting to overload and overwork yourself. Let's avoid that thinking trap, okay? Number 2, we want to reconnect with the objective. What is the objective at hand? If it's releasing weight, if it's building muscle, if it's building habits, if it's changing our eating habits, if it's changing our relationship with food, let's reconnect with that. Let's reconnect with purpose. Let's reassess and reconnect with the meaning. Why is this important to me? What does this mean to me to receive or to obtain this objective, right? And let's reconnect with that. Number 3, we want to keep it simple. Go back to what we know. Go back to what you know. And to keep it extremely simple, pick one thing. If it's walking, if it's your exercise, going to the gym, if it's your nutrition, if it's water, if it's reducing processed foods, if it's changing the carb intake, if it's reducing down your portions because the last couple of weeks or months or years, you've kind of overdone it in that, whatever it is, go back to what you know and start there. If you can't figure it out, pick one thing. And then that leads me to point number 4, repeat. Take action, achieve it, repeat, 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 repeat. Once we've repeated, once we've gotten into the flow of that, then number 5 is compound, meaning add something else. Add something else. Take action, build consistency, become effective with that. And then we keep adding until we get to the place where we're like, okay, I'm right back on track where I was 3 weeks ago, a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is. But remember, keep in mind, do not overload or overstress yourself too early. The goal is to not get there, right? There are certain moments, if we're preparing for a competition, for preparing for some type of event, some type of show, some type of shoot, we may overload or overstress ourselves for a certain period of time, but we've got to release. Overloading only shuts us down and breaks us down, okay? So these are the 5 things that I do to get back on track in my health and fitness journey when I've been away for some time, and I hope these are helpful to you.